Everyone, Britt here from Scrappy Boy Stamps, and today we're going to do a tutorial on the 3D box card with some tips and tricks about how to add your topper shapes. I'll be using one of the 3 possible topper shapes later on in the video, but first let's cut our pieces. The largest piece in your die set will be this main back panel, followed by the stitched back panel layering piece. You'll have a left-facing and a right-facing rounded side panel that both have their own stitched and matted layering piece. You'll have a longer rectangle with tabs as your center support piece. You'll cut this 3 times. And of course, you'll do the same with the stitched mat layers for this piece as well. Lastly, you'll have a smaller rectangle that acts as the front panel of your box card. And of course, it too has a stitched mat layer. This set includes 3 pairs of open-ended dies, a simple topper for your back panel, and a matching stitched topper to add to your stitched mat layer. Tip number 1 is to cut your stitched layer first. You'll start by making sure the top of the die is butted up against the top stitched line. Secure with low-tack tape. Then, to ensure that your topper is positioned evenly on each side, you're going to count the stitches starting at the 2 bottom points of your die, ending at the 2 top corners of your panel. And if the number of stitches is the same on each side, your topper will cut straight. And of course, if you have a significantly different number of stitches from side to side, go ahead and readjust before you send it through your die cutting machine. Once the topper is cut, remove your die and you'll see that the top of your panel is now shaped. And of course, the stitch detail matches up with the existing stitching perfectly. Now here is sort of my hack for the whole thing. By cutting the stitched layer first, we are able to use the stitched layer to line up the topper for the back panel. I use a tiny bit of removable adhesive to attach the stitch layer to the back panel. I position the plain topper die over my back panel, using my stitched piece as a guide, tape it down and remove the stitch layer. Then I'll run this piece through my die cutting machine as well. Once the die is removed, our back panel is perfectly shaped to fit together with our stitched layer, creating that thin, matted look that is the hallmark of Scrappy Boy products. I love the versatility of this die. With the ability to use the included toppers to change the design, this is one of those die sets that you get once and you can pull it out time and time again. Now that we've completed the topper, let's assemble the rest of the card. First, we'll attach the side pieces to the back panel. These dies not only cut the side pieces, they also emboss 2 score lines, making it easy for you to fold and burnish the front and back tabs. Once you've put a good crease in all 4 tabs, you'll apply liquid glue to the inside of the 2 longest tabs and adhere both side pieces to the back panel, ensuring the 3 pieces line up perfectly across the bottom. The easiest way I've found to make sure everything is lining up flush at the bottom is to fold the side piece completely over and make sure the bottoms line up evenly, and use that open time that liquid glue affords you to be able to readjust until things look the way I want them to. Then I use my bone folder to burnish the back of the tab, which just encourages good adhesion between the 2 pieces. It's at this point in the assembly that I advise attaching your stitch layer to the back panel. Now is the best time because you won't want to do it once you've started adding your interior support. It is significantly easier to line this up when you're not fighting those additional panels. For this example, I'm going to show you how I attach what I consider to be the maximum amount of interior supports that you can use with this card design. It is of course up to you if you wanted to try to use less, and of course you could always try to put in more. You do you, boo-boo, and I'll do me, and me is gonna do 3. And yes, my top tip for putting these in evenly is using measuring and a T-square ruler. But because I'm not into torturing you, your middle mark from left to right is at about 1 1/16 of an inch, and then about 1 1/8 of an inch measured from the bottom up. You'll put a dot at the intersection of those 2 measurements. Then you'll mark your support piece right on the fold that creates the tab, measuring in 3/4 of an inch from either side. You do this so that you're easily able to align these 2 marks and make sure the center of your support piece meets the center of your side piece. Then before your glue sets, use that T-square to make sure that the piece is perpendicular to the bottom straight edge of your card. As a side note, sorry that the important part of this is a little bit low and to the side in the shot. But thankfully all of the most important parts still made it in, and so we're going to go with it. Now that we've installed the support that goes in the very middle, we can use it as a guide for the other 2 supports. You'll measure out 1/2 inch both in front of and behind from that center support. Then you'll place one of the remaining support pieces at that 1/2 inch mark, making sure the side is flush with the bottom of your card. Using the T-square again to check that it is straight. Then for your 3rd piece, you'll make sure you have a mark at that 1/2 inch measurement between the middle support and your back panel. Then you'll place your third support at that 1/2 inch mark, making sure this time that the edge lines up with the top of that side piece. Then you'll take your little T-square ruler, make sure that it's straight up and down, and use that open time with the liquid glue to make your adjustments. Now I want to be real with you for just a second. If this process of measuring and making things perfectly spaced just steals your joy, feel free to wing it. At the end of the day, these tutorials are not about how you must put together a project. This is simply about giving you the method I used to get the result that I got. So just take what you'll use and leave the rest. Right here, I almost made my least favorite mistake, and that is fully assembling the card before I add the stitched layers. But after adding them off camera, I'm able to fold that side piece onto the exposed adhesive, which automatically adheres the tabs in the correct place. And suddenly our box card is actually starting to look like a box. You might have already guessed that this card was going to be themed with our new Scrappy Boy Stamps We're Not Alone collection. This collection is chock full of all of those quirky conspiracy-loving side characters, as well as 2 main characters that definitely defined opposites attract for a generation. The stamp set and paper pack have some amazing callouts from the show, and I really love this particular sentiment: the truth of your age is out there. To finish off the structure of our box card, I'll adhere this front panel to the 2 remaining tabs. And last but not least, we'll adhere the decorative stitched layers to the side panels. As you can see, I was pretty excited to use pattern paper from the new collection, but it would also be really cool to stamp and color some additional images from the stamp set, and then cut them out with this stitched side piece so you can feature them on the side of your card. I'm definitely going to do that the next time I use this for one of my projects. Off camera, I colored up some of my favorite images from the new stamp set, and here's a top tip. When you have images that were inspired by a television show or a movie, it's super helpful to look up still images from that TV show to inspire you when you're trying to pick your colors. Now here's another little hack to get the most out of these box cards. You can use little pieces of acetate to help certain elements kind of look like they're floating off of your card. I cut 2 small strips of acetate and then set them aside because I wanted to first decide where my larger elements would go. I love how this card design gives you these little stepped up layers for your scene. It really makes it effortless to add all the depth and dimension to your final project. Once I added my 2 main character images, I knew I wanted to add this giant X, which is inspired by the show's logo. So I used some liquid glue and I attached it to one of my strips of acetate. Then I gave it a second to dry off camera, and then it was easy to use a couple of pieces of double-sided adhesive and attach my floating X to the front of my card base. I did the same thing to add this totally 90s era cell phone, which was actually used in the first few seasons quite a bit to show how advanced the FBI was. But later on, it definitely became one of the things that undeniably dated this show to the early 90s. I sort of wanted to make it look like the alien head in the background was using telekinesis to get their cell phone away from them. And with the addition of that floating phone, this card is done. Once you get started making these box cards, it is definitely addicting. I was also really excited to break out this other new release from this month called Aliens Landed in Roswell. All the elements from this collection and We're Not Alone go so well together. I just love this release and it was super fun to create with. If you made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with me today. We love you in our little crafty community and we could not do this without you. We have an amazing community of friends, fans, and makers over on the Scrappy Boy Facebook page and our Instagram. There you will find new releases, shipping updates, a monthly challenge, and of course, amazing inspiration from our awesome design team. If you are interested in any of the dies, stamps, or pattern paper I used in this video today, visit scrappyboy.com and grab some of these supplies for yourself. Links to the store, all of our socials, and everywhere you can find me are in the description box below. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and then comment down below whether you believe in aliens. And make sure you're subscribed to the Scrappy Boy YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. And believe it or not, I'm going a little bit sappy today. If you remember nothing else, remember this. May you be lucky enough to find someone who really believes in you. And if you do, hold on to them with everything you've got, because that, my dear, is your 1 in 5 billion. See you next time. Bye.